Les bon top roulé. Another one bites the dust. And all by myself. These stories and much more in today's episode of MSP Dispatch.
This episode is presented by OIT VoIP. Enhance your client's communication abilities with our VoIP solution, featuring integrated billing, on-demand training, and live US support. Collaborate seamlessly with Microsoft Teams integration and put your entire phone system in your pocket with Mobile X. Improve your offerings and increase profitability with reliable service for 1/10 of the average MSP acquisition cost. To learn more, visit oit.co or dial 844-CALL-OIT.
Good morning and welcome to the June 20th episode of MSP Dispatch, your source for news, community events, and commentary in the MSP channel. I'm Ray Orsini, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Tony Francisco. How you doing, Tony?
Excellent, Ray. Excellent. I mean, what an incredible weekend. Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you.
Happy Father's Day, my friend.
To all the amazing fathers and to the single moms out there that are playing both roles. Happy belated to all of you. What an incredible weekend. Talk to me. What's going on?
It's just been an awesome weekend. I have no complaints. It's been nice and easy. It was raining and windy outside, so I had to do yard work because that's how that works when it's raining and windy outside. But more interesting, I found this article talking about Gen Xers and older millennials just want to go back to the time before the internet existed. Have you heard of this yet?
Heard of it. I say it all the time.
You information superhighway. No. Well, so for those of you that wish for the time before dysentery and the wagon wheel breaking, you're not alone. A new Harris, according to Fast Company, a new Harris poll reveals a majority of Americans, especially older millennials, Gen Xers, us basically, would prefer to live in the easier area. 77% of Americans, 35 to 54, would like to return to a time before the internet and smartphones. Younger people, 18 to 34, who grew up with social media, expressed a desire to go back to the analog era. And then boomers were 60% less eager, maybe because they lived through it a little more. They had their entire lifetime, whereas we were part of our lifetime without technology. Maybe you think that's the difference? Listen,
I am a firm believer in the concept that a memory, any of your memories, is a framed out version of what happened, and you removed a lot of the bad things and you replaced it with whatever you want to replace it. So you jumped into dysentery back in the old days when everything was great, with dysentery, segregation, where, the women, they couldn't vote or drive. Like back when the old days were good. No, and no, and no.
Right. We're not saying that. Yeah.
Yes. Granted, there were some really cool things.
Silence. What was the last time you had pure silence? It's impossible. Right?
Light pollution. Remember when the term light pollution came out and then noise pollution, and you're like, what the heck? Hey, yeah.
It's a thing. I live in Miami Lakes, and anybody who comes down here, it is a very suburby neighborhood, lots of single family homes, single and two-story. But they're starting to build a good bit of like apartments and townhouses and that kind of thing. And it kind of like, I'm not saying get out of my neighborhood. But when you can't see the skyline, you know what I mean? It's that. It's not because anybody's in there.
I'm not saying get out of my neighborhood.
No, it's not that. I'm saying the townhouses and the apartments get out of my neighborhood because we have these beautiful lakes and cow pastures and beautiful skylines. And when you can't see the sunset because there's a 5-story apartment building, it kind of ruins it a little bit. So I get it. I get it a little bit, but to be clear, like Tony said, the segregation, the not allowing, not treating everybody equal and allowing them to vote, we are squarely against that. Tony, before we get in trouble, let's get into the news, man.
Let's get into the news.
In our top security story, every Louisiana driver's license holder exposed in Colossal cyber attack, written by Ramon Antonio Vargas for The Guardian. In a massive cyber attack that affected American federal agencies, British Airways, and the BBC, personal details of every driver's license holder in Louisiana has been exposed. The breach exploited a vulnerability in MoveIt, a software widely exploited for transferring large digital files, and we reported on in previous episodes here somewhere. Officials report that the data breach involved about 6 million records and compromised names, addresses, social security numbers, driver's license numbers, vehicle registration data, and other personal information of over 4.6 million residents. The Russia-linked extortion game CLOP, CL0P, took credit and claimed they wouldn't exploit the data and erased all information. Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards assures the public that there is no evidence of the hackers selling or using the exposed information. However, precautionary measures are strongly advised. These include freezing credit, changing passwords, obtaining a special number from the IRS to prevent tax return fraud, and reporting any suspicions of identity theft to authorities. We will include links to how to freeze your credit reports for the 3 different bureaus in the links below. If you're in the US, if you're in the Canada or the UK, just laugh at us. Tony, we sit there and we go every single episode, turn on MFA, unique passwords, don't share your passwords with anybody. But then stuff like this happens where the end user can't do a damn thing. Do we have any helpful advice to share there?
We can start off with, why don't you go ahead and give me all of your social security number, credit card numbers, weight, age, and literally everything in regards to your family. Anyone that has had a driver's license, you can give that to me. I would like to also propose that I will not do anything with that data. If we can start at that point, maybe we can possibly...
Sir, are you saying that the hackers that promise to not use the data and that they're deleting it all, are you saying that they're less than honest? No, you know what though? Okay, so this is Colonial Pipeline, right? Not to the extent, but this is very similar to Colonial Pipeline, where I think the hackers realized self-preservation. This is something that doesn't net us a whole lot of money, because unless there are corporations tied to it, the corporations are the bigger play, right? Money-wise, as far as a business is concerned. B, you're going to piss off a lot of people and you're going to get a lot of attention you probably don't want. And I think after Colonial Pipeline and the way the FBI handled that with other agencies, I'm pretty sure there's a line that certain malicious actors don't want to cross. And I'd say this is probably squarely behind that. What do you think?
First off, racing for some dolphins here. You're with people that eat food that's so hot and they find that enjoyable. So a certain level of pain is not just acceptable, but it's actually desired, and you've just made them all angry. So I don't know. Let's go back to the, hey, give me all this data, and I'm not going to do anything with it. That is how ludicrous this entire situation is. Now, personally, I have turned off for years, I've turned off all of the credit, the standard rating systems. And sometimes they even charge you $25 to do it. Just do it. My FICO score has continually gone up every year because of that. And I didn't recognize this until my identity was stolen. I had to put a freeze on everything. I got denied for a Home Depot credit card. And I said, oh, that's cool. Hey, I didn't apply to Home Depot. I was like, I guess I could.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's acceptable. I mean, sometimes you get denied it. Hey.
Nothing like being rejected for the thing you didn't ask for.
Exactly.
Right.
But there has to be, we're talking foundational, preventative steps that everyone, and I mean everyone, needs to take immediately. There are exceptions. There are exceptions to the rule. I need credit checks being done on my account all the time. Those are exceptions. That's not the norm by any definition. But you need to have your credit lines frozen at every single major bureau, unless you're buying a car or buying a house. And then guess what? When you're doing that, you can call them and say, turn it back on for X amount of time for this company to do the inquiry. And in the meantime, I'm not saying you're going to be bulletproof, but you're sure as heck going to walk out prepared for a situation that we're all in the middle of this dumpster fire for the last, almost 20 years.
No, and to be fair, we should add that we're going to include the links below to how to freeze your credit reports. And I agree with you 100%. Have them freezed year round. When you go apply for a card, you go apply for a loan, unlock it at that point. You'll forget. They'll try to run it. They can tell when it's locked. So it's not, they'll tell you. But just want to give fair warning. Anybody that uses the links, I promise you, these credit bureaus are going to try to upsell you to pay to freeze your accounts. It is absolutely free to freeze all 3 of your accounts, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. But doing those freeze your accounts and change your passwords and have some credit monitoring, those are good ideas. I'd like to hear from the MSPs. What other good ideas would you give your clients in this scenario? And maybe we'll share some of the best ones on social. So let us know in the comments. Let us know in Discord. But for now, the one thing we can count on is that Google will always have our backs no matter what product we buy from them, right?
Coming from the Stack.technology, Google Domains is shutting down just 14 months after general availability. Google Domains is winding down and handing all of its approximately 10 million domains to Squarespace. Google moved Google Domains out of beta in 26 countries in March 2022, 7 years after a beta that began in 2015. The decision comes less than 4 weeks after Google launched a new .zip TLD and promptly ran into a firestorm of criticism from security professionals concerned that the TLD would help phishing attacks. We've actually brought that up here on the show. In keeping with our efforts to sharpen our focus, we've entered into a definitive agreement with Squarespace for the acquisition of customer accounts of the Google Domains Registrar business, said Google VP Matt Madrigal. The transition is expected to close in Q3. Under the terms of the agreement, Squarespace will honor all existing Google Domains customers' renewal prices for at least 12 months when the transaction closes. Let's just get this out up front right now, Ray. This hits a little close to home. I literally just switched my domains to Google Domains last week. You're witnessing this live here on the show.
This is Tony going.
Finally watched MSP Dispatch sooner. I would.
If you had watched the episode where we talked about the .zips are hella bad. No, I mean, so I have nothing against Squarespace. It has its place. One of the better services. I'm happier to hear it sold to Squarespace than GoDaddy, for example. And this is pure opinion at this point, guys. So don't yell at me. This is the opinion side of it. But Squarespace has a better reputation than, say, a GoDaddy, for example, and that's fine. It's funny though that Google does this big. This is what, 20 months? Google does this big dog and pony show. We're selling domains at cost. Google's the security company. Google tie it into all your other stuff. And then, oops, with the .zips. And we're getting the hell out of Dodge. And they sold it. Now, to be fair, Google kills a lot of properties. And this one they sold instead of killing, right?
Interesting take on that.
So, but I think this is because this is a regulated space. I think if the IANAs of the world didn't exist, I think in a heartbeat, it wouldn't be IANA. It would be would it be Aaron, or who would be
Aaron? I would say Aaron.
It would be Aaron. Yeah. Okay. So it would be Aaron, at least in the US, handling this. And obviously there's AppNac and some of the other ones for the different regions. But because it's a regulated space, I don't think they could just say we're done. Right. It is weird that they sold it so quickly. I can't recall the last property they got rid of in under 24 months.
I want to know what Squarespace.
Go ahead.
What is Squarespace going to do with it? Because they're predominantly hosting, and are they trying to get into the domain business? I just don't see them in the domain business.
I mean, I couldn't tell you. I didn't do the research to say. I know they allow you to register a domain when you sign up. I've seen that myself. I don't know if they're going through a name silo or, a Namecheap or one of the other, reseller ones. This would make sense, right? Now they basically, it's like buying a liquor license. They bought a domain registrar. There's value to that in their ecosystem. I can't say it doesn't make sense. It absolutely makes sense to me. I just take them to Cloudflare. Cloudflare is not at cost, but Cloudflare is really damn cheap. The upside of Cloudflare is it doesn't support the TLD of .zip. So, you know.
Then
now,
downstairs, it also monitors all your traffic. And what does it do with that?
Well, yeah, but and I don't mind that. Well, no. Listen, I'd rather a DDoS prevention company and a data scrubbing company take my data than
Agreed.
If it was going through GoDaddy, right? I hate to pick on GoDaddy. No, I don't. But, you know, you get what I'm saying.
What happened to network solutions? What happened to network solutions?
Oh, the network solutions is still $600 a month or $600 a year for an SSL cert. That one.
You know what? We're in a football discussions. I'm like, but what about the Raiders? Oh!
Wait, LA or Oakland? Because
LA, what? Vegas.
Oh, it's Vegas now. Yeah, we'll see. Vegas. That's all right. Before I start getting yelled at by the sports,
let's plan. We got to jump into the next story. Just to be very, very, very clear, I'm really curious to see who else has transferred their domains into Google Domains. I literally just finished last week getting the approvals and submitting them. I would love to hear online who else has done that and what you're going to do with it. Give me some personal advice. That'd be really cool. But in the meantime, Ray, let's talk about Windows. Everyone has Windows. Talk to me.
Tony, I got so many Windows. I'm looking through some right now. All right. In our top 3 security story, public preview improves Windows 32 app security via app isolation. Written by David Weston, VP of Enterprise and OS Security at Microsoft. Microsoft has announced the public preview launch of Windows 32 app isolation. The new feature aims to enhance security of Windows desktop applications by sandboxing them using the Win32 API. Announced at Build 2023, the feature runs apps with low privilege and restricts their access to specific Windows APIs. By doing so, it prevents unauthorized access to user information and code injection into higher integrity processes. In cases of app vulnerabilities, the app container execution environment confines the app to its allocated resources, preventing malicious apps from taking control of the entire system. Developers can implement isolation measures using Microsoft's tools to improve the security of their Windows 32 apps. This strengthens overall security of the software and the devices they run on. Windows 32 app isolation is an addition to the family of existing Windows Sandbox options, such as Windows Sandbox, Microsoft Defender, and Application Guard. For more information on the Win32 app isolation developer experience, visit their GitHub page, which will be linked in the show notes below. Tony, I don't know about you, but I'm going to say I love this. Sandboxing, isolation, not protected APIs. I mean, this is everything I'd want to hear from the Louisiana DMV. This is, wait, no.
Oh, no, now you're just getting, yeah, come on. Now you're...
Too soon. I'm sorry.
Amazing. I mean, we're talking, we've got, endpoint, transport mechanisms of security. You've got payload inspection. You've got application firewalls. But once it gets into the environment, once it's there, what then? Now you're talking about siloing from a security perspective, the permissions, the utilization at the, and I'm just throwing this out there, because I'm not quite understanding how they're going to do it, but isolating a subsystem that contains the app itself. So how are they going to do this, and what's the reporting mechanism going to be like, and what happens if something spins out? What if, like, oop, this popped up and we didn't see this little nasty bug that went through, or someone did something in this particular application? Is it able to breach the air-gapped isolation? I don't know how they're going to do this, but I'm loving what I'm hearing.
So I would love to see, like, don't get me wrong, Microsoft is really good at giving us half a solution, right? App isolation, reporting, alerting would be awesome, except damn well it's only going to go to the Microsoft event logs, right? The Windows event logs. Like, tell me it's going to spit out.
Tell me all my excitement. Just crush me.
Right? Like, tell me it's going to spit out to one of the Microsoft products made to manage devices en masse. By default, out of the box, without configuration. If you're enrolled in Azure, tell me these alerts are going to spit up to Azure immediately with alerting to specific administrators. it seems like Microsoft is missing that other half of the coin. Now, don't get me wrong. This opens the lane for awesome projects like SIP, Cyber Drain Improved Partner Portal. Sorry, Kelvin, and friends. This improves the lane for RMM and PSA vendors to tie in a little more, tie in a little better. This improves the lane for security vendors, right? MDR, XDR, EDR, OPP, UNIT, YDR, whatever it is. But it opens the lane for them to tie into this stuff too, because what Auto Elevate has isolation, Huntress has isolation, Threat Locker has isolation, Third Wall had isolation. So if we can
this
get that
magic,
there,
but yeah, you're saying I just said. Let me just recap for the audience there, because you heard literally every letter in the alphabet all stacked together. Ray is not just a member of, he is the chairman of ARC, the Acronym Reduction Committee. So what he pointed out is like Auto Elevate, for example, it handles the endpoint escalation, and Huntress and all the the threat lockers, they handle the base level, and everything in between. But I really want to point out that there could be, and I'm just throwing this one out there, I think you hit something on the head, Ray, and this is absolute magic what you said. Why can't we take this data and spin out the logs to trigger for something like a Graylog, for example? Graylog is, a Dockerized little Graylog component, a module, a plug-in into the Windows environment, or a plug-in to something else. But Graylog, we're talking now enterprise, world-class level logging and metrics and alerting.
But my thing is, it should be built into Windows. It should go
automatically. You're being too logical. I'm going one step at a time.
You know what? While Tony and I argue over the pace of this stuff, I think we'll do our viewers a service and go get into the notables. What do you say?
Let's get into the notables. Jumping into my first notable mention from newsbiteapp.com, Apple is taking on Apples in a truly weird trademark battle. Apple wants intellectual property rights over apples. The company has tried to trademark apples, the fruit, in other countries. Apple's quest to trademark its namesake fruit in Switzerland dates back to 2017. It submitted an application before the Swiss Institute of Intellectual Property, IPI, for IP rights over a realistic black and white depiction of Granny Smith apple. The IPI granted Apple the rights to some goods it wanted and cited a legal principle that considers generic images of common goods as a part of public domain. Apple filed an appeal in April of this year. The new lawsuit covers the use cases for which IPI did not grant the trademark. Apple has a history of winning similar battles in countries like Japan, Turkey, Israel, and Armenia. If Apple wins, it could be a huge restriction on any usage of any depiction of apples, the fruit, in the country. And on my next notable mention, from community.ui.com, Ubiquiti is pausing the early access hardware program. Ubiquiti has paused their early access hardware program. In a post in Ubiquiti's UI community, it is written, "After careful consideration and evaluation, we write to inform you that we have decided to discontinue the early access hardware program. Early access software releases will continue to be released for all products. We believe that this change will ultimately result in a higher quality experience for all customers." External feedback for upcoming products is still an important part of their development process, and they will be reevaluating their approach to pre-release hardware evaluations to better align with quality goals.
In my first notable mention, Google gets go-ahead to build 153-acre Bay Area neighborhood by its headquarters, written by Stephen Council for sfgate.com. Google has received unanimous city council approval to construct a 153-acre mixed-use neighborhood adjacent to its headquarters in Mountain View. The project, known as Google North Bayshore Master Plan, is expected to span 30 years and replace existing Google offices and parking lots. It will encompass over 3 million square feet of office space and 7,000 residential units. Originally, the developers aimed to allocate 20% of the new housing as affordable units, but the approved plan sets aside 15% for lower and middle income housing due to economic considerations. The development will also include public parks, commercial space, a school, and new streets. Google has emphasized that the project's amenities and services will serve the broader Mountain View community. In my second notable mention, HaloPSA in for the long haul. written on HaloPSA.com. HaloPSA, a leading provider of professional services automation software, otherwise known as PSA, has made it clear that they are not for sale. The company's steadfast commitment to driving industry-wide transformation remains unchanged, regardless of any potential buyers that have expressed interest per the blog on their website. On June 13th, they added a blog saying that they're adding a clause in all of their contracts specifying they will not engage in mergers, acquisitions, or private equity deals for a rolling 10-year period. This demonstrates that their firm's dedication to remaining independent and focused on their mission to create positive change in the industry. In our resource of the week, the MSP KB, otherwise known as the Managed Service Providers Knowledge Base. It's an extensive resource dedicated to the MSP industry and the IT channel. It aims to provide valuable insights and knowledge to various individuals involved in the MSP ecosystem, including MSP professionals, vendors serving MSPs, IT professionals considering transitioning to managed services, and members of MSP-focused communities. Contributions to the knowledge base are welcomed and encouraged, whether by suggesting new topics, improving existing content, or sharing expertise. Details on how are located on the homepage.
There are plenty of amazing upcoming events taking place across the community, so let's see what's happening this week. Starting today through June 22nd, an in-person event, HPE Discover in Las Vegas, Nevada. And then starting tomorrow through the 22nd, another in-person event, ASCII Edge in St. Petersburg, Florida. And on June 22nd at 1 p.m., a cyber insurance masterclass, Smooth Talking, Tackling Objections, presented by Huntress. And coming from the MSP Media Network this week, we have tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, a Partner First webinar, Are You Running a Bank or an MSP? And then on June 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, another episode of Pitch It 2023 Vendor Spotlight featuring vCIO, Toolbox, and Hackware. And as always on Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, MSP Dispatch presented by the MSP Media Network.
Hi, I'm Aaron, and I'm a jobaholic. We all have something in common. We all have a worst job story. Each episode, I'll welcome one guest to share their most insane worst job story. And in return, I'll share one of mine. Join me the first Friday of every month for new episodes of 38 at 38.
So how'd you like today's show? If you liked it, hit the thumbs up button. If you didn't, go and hit it 3 times. And if you want to hear more, go and hit that subscribe button on the YouTubes or your favorite podcatcher. Did you know we also have a Discord where we post stories all week? You can propose your own stories and even vote on which ones we'll cover. As my friend Rich Spanky says, make sure to tell a friend. Also, be sure to follow us on social media at MSP Media TV. Have any questions? Email news@mspmedia.tv for answers on the next episode, or leave us a voicemail, 833 MSP Network. So, Tony, you made a comment about all the acronyms that I had spit out. And you said that I was, you said something to the effect of like I was the boss or whatever.
You're the CEO of ARC, the Acronym Reduction Committee.
So, ironically, if you look at my LinkedIn, you will see I'm a chairperson for the National Society of Unnecessary Technology Acronyms, or NSUTA.
Oh, so, I'm not saying that I'm prophetic or anything. I'm just saying, yes, people, let me tell you how it is without even looking.
Yeah.
Acronym master.
It's funny because you put a new job, or you put like when we like the CompTIA Seed Act that we both served on. It's like when I put there that I was, vice chair, co-chair, blah, blah, on there, you start getting job offers. Oh, we see your CompTIA, blah. But when I posted that position to my work history, I didn't get a single response. I was waiting for them. I didn't get a single like sales pitch, not a single like, I was so hoping to like try to get somebody to explain that to me, but no, too bad. But what about you guys? I'd love to hear from our Discord, because all of us have been members of some ridiculous organization at one point or another. I'd love to hear like the most ridiculous organizations in chat or in the Discord. What about you, Tony? You have anything off the top of your head?
Well, I worked for GTE back before GTE, Bell Atlantic, and 9X merged to become what's now Verizon. And GTE, we always said it stood for "get there eventually" with technology, and that's horrible to say, but get there eventually. One day.
I love that. Like, my contribution to this is a totally bogus and phony organization. Tony's like, yeah, I worked on Google on the Google Domains product.
No. Listen, I am still, for the audience members out there, I need you to understand this. I'm reading that Google Domains is sunsetting for the first time, and I have my Google Domains transfer confirmations on the next screen. I'm literally sweating as I'm reading this to you in real time. I'm stressing. I'm like, what am I going to do? Hey, what's going to happen? So yes, this is what happens on the back channel. In the meantime, in the green room, or in between scenes, Ray is crying, laughing at me. And I'm like,
because as we're reading it, as the story is going out, I can see your face just like wincing just a little bit more, like when you got a rock in your shoe.
Slap on the side. Look, everything's great. Everything's great.
You know what? That's good for the MSPs to know that they know we feel the news too. We're one of you guys. I'm sorry. I wish I had a Cloudflare referral code. I'd clean up.
I would be your first little bloop.
Right. But for now, everybody, I think that's it for a good episode. Till next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
Be safe, everyone.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.
Windows 32 app isolation is an addition to the family of existing Microsoft Windows Sandbox option, blah, blah, blah.
The new lawsuit covers the use case. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to laugh at this one. They're trying to fatten an apple. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Okay. I gotta.
HaloPSA, a leading provider of professional services automation software. That's what I get for trying to add.